Hey everyone, my name is Gabby Albano. I'm the events assistant at Venture Portland, and today I'm here to talk about event budgeting. So, event budgeting can be really daunting for people, and I don't blame you. But the good news is you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be an expert event planner. You just need to follow these 5 steps to creating your budget. Number 1 is going to be your research phase. Number 2, projected budget. Number 3, a finalized budget. Number 4, your actual spend. And number 5 are reflections and insights. We're gonna go through all 5 of these and break them down, but if you have any questions or if there's anything that ever confuses you, be sure to reach out to Venture Portland's own Events Hub team. We're here to help you and answer all your questions or just take you step by step through the process of crafting a budget. When it comes to step 1, research is probably the most important piece to the budget. Research means quite a few different things. At its core, you must know what type of event you want to throw because that'll dictate where you spend your money. Once you have your who, what, where, when, and why figured out, then you can get more of your numbers together. What's your starting budget? How much more funding are you going to need to pull off your idea? Be very clear about these things before you even open a spreadsheet so that you don't waste time or add extra work to your plate. If you were to search event budget in Google, you would be inundated with so many different softwares and apps telling you that they have the best that money can buy. If that's the route you want to go, perfectly fine. But I'm here to tell you that Excel or Google Sheets are 2 perfectly fine options for creating a spreadsheet. It's all about how you can best organize your details. So choose a software that makes sense and stick with it. The next thing that you're going to want to do in the research phase is look at past events. When you go back in time and you look at what's already been done, there's a lot of things that you can learn and a lot of mistakes you can't avoid. If an event is reoccurring, it's extra important to look at those past budgets just to see how they compare overall and what sorts of trends you're seeing. Other things that you should consider researching ahead of time would be general prices of must-haves, industry standards of what DJs or performers cost, vendors, different options, what are their prices? Maybe you can start building those relationships before you actually start budgeting and get a good deal. Before I get into how to create a projected budget, I want to talk about the reason why projected budgets are so important. In addition to keeping you on track and organized, projected budgets are an essential piece to gaining collaborators. Whether it's a partner or a sponsor, when you go to pitch your event idea, they might want to know these numbers right away. How much does the venue cost? How much are you spending on decorations? This is important for investors because they need to know that their money or their donations are going to an organized event planner, somebody that understands the vision and knows how to execute it. With that blank document, the very first thing you'll do is create categories of expenses. These should be your must-have items. So before you get into all the details, start with the big picture stuff. And underneath each category, there might be subcategories. And again, there's not really a downfall to doing a bunch of research at this point and listing all the different subcategories. But if you just start with your must-haves, that can give you a good idea of roughly what types of costs you're looking at. So once you've figured out your must-have items, the next thing that you have to do is start getting these estimates together. And sometimes you really know what you want. One specific venue, one entertainer, one type of decoration, and that's easy. That means that once you got that estimate, you add it all up and there's your total projected cost. But be warned, I encourage most folks to create a total projected range rather than one specific final cost. Why do we do this? Well, when we create a range, we're actually allowing a lot more flexibility than if we created one singular amount. The projected budget should show not only the most expensive version, but also some more affordable options, just so that if for some reason down the road you notice that you're going over your budget, you can adjust and change your spending to fit within the budget. Not only is a projected range helpful for when you're overspending down the line, but it can actually be a great tool for getting more funding. Think about it this way. If you're pitching your event to a potential sponsor and you say that with their contribution of $500, you can get that better venue, they might understand what the bigger picture is and how they're going to play a part in your vision. One of the last things you can add to your projected budget would be any in-kind donations or monetary contributions that partners and sponsors have given you. Donations can affect your projected budgets for the better, but sometimes for the worse if they fall through. So this is why it's essential to create a range of costs so that, again, you are prepared for having expenses down the line and you can adjust your spending depending on what happens. So you have your research page and then you have your projected budget column. Next step is creating the final budget. Your projected budget and your final budget might look very similar, but the difference is that the final budget should have every single expense listed out down to the final detail. And if for some reason you do forget something or there's an additional expense that you didn't consider, you should have a miscellaneous category that it will catch all of these different things. For most events, no matter the size or the scope, it's encouraged to save at least 20% of your budget for miscellaneous costs. Before we go into actually spending any money or signing contracts, this is when you're going to want to finalize your donations and contributions. Once you start spending money, you've entered step number 4, the actual spend. So in a new column, you're going to take your finalized budget and create what looks nearly identical, and this will be your actual spend column. Your actual spend is where you track what you've purchased and what still needs to be bought. The very first thing you should buy when you're looking at your budget are your must-haves, the things that are essential for your event. This looks different for every event. So return to your who, what, where, when, and why when it comes to the decor and the atmosphere that you're trying to create. After you've purchased your must-haves, this is where you're going to look at your projected budget. How are you doing? Are you spending too much money? Are you actually saving money and you can start splurging on more expensive options? Looking at that range is going to influence how you keep going when it comes to spending money. At that point, you should start to also think about those miscellaneous costs and how much you should be saving for any sort of emergencies. After the event, there's still more details that you have to confirm before you're totally done with your actual spending. If you've only paid a deposit, you're going to have to square any of those financial obligations. So, budgeting and keeping track of your budget even throughout the event is going to be important so that you don't have any last-minute huge costs. Only once you have finished spending and pulled off your event can you move into the 5th and final step. During this stage, we're taking our numbers and turning them into a story. So what did your event pull off? Where were there areas of improvement? And what is in store for the future for this event? These insights are valuable to you as an event planner, but also to the people that collaborated on the event. The first question you want answered is, did you stay within the budget? So this means looking at your actual spend category and comparing it to the projected range. How did you do? Were you close to that finalized budget? Did you go way over, way under? All of these things are important to when you tell the story of your event. The first thing you're going to identify is where you saved money. This is a great piece of information to show your collaborators. But you also should highlight ways that you can improve. Where did you go over your budget? What things did you not consider in your initial projections? The reflection phase is not about highlighting any failures, but instead growing from any mistakes and learning how we can always do things better. I want to thank you for watching this video and for taking the time to learn about event budgeting. I'm Gabby Albano, the events assistant for Venture Portland, and this has been your introduction to event budgeting. The good news is that if I can do it, so can you. And find more information on the Venture Portland YouTube. And be sure to tune in next time with Gabby and Freddie.